The verdict is in. Your boy Diddy has been found guilty of 2 charges, but here's the good news for Diddy. He's found not guilty of RICO. He's innocent of the racketeering charge. He's innocent of any sex trafficking. The only thing they found him guilty of was the Mann Act, which is transporting somebody across state lines to engage in prostitution.
I'm going to interrupt you just closely here, Missy, because we are getting the verdict coming in right now. This is coming in real time, and we have count 1 here. This is the racketeering charge. We have the count here of not guilty on racketeering. This is coming in real time. We have count 2 also coming in here, not guilty. That is the sex trafficking of Cassie Ventura. Count 3, we have guilty. Count 3 is guilty for the transportation of Cassie Ventura. That is guilty. Count 4, this is the sex trafficking of Jane. That's a pseudonym. Not guilty. Count 5, we have guilty.
So yes, Diddy was found guilty of 2 counts of the Mann Act. Now let's look at this realistically. You know what I mean? For those of y'all that don't know y'all history, the Mann Act was a charge that was created for the heavyweight champion boxer Jack Johnson. The establishment at the time, who were a little less than pleased to see an African American strutting around with blonde-haired, blue-eyed concubine, came up with a charge that said it's illegal to transport this woman across state lines and engage in sexual activity. So that's where the Mann Act originated from, and it looks like, hey, it stood its original purpose. Because once again, like I brought up in my last video, if he's guilty of the Mann Act, the only thing Diddy did wrong was he did not register himself as an adult film company. Because once again, every single adult film company, the entire industry is built upon transporting females across the state line to engage in prostitution. So you have an entire industry that the federal government can go can bring charges up on. Now let's see how selective their prosecution really is. And once again, not only is it the adult film industry, but in the state of Nevada, prostitution is actually legal. So had Diddy registered himself as a legal brothel, every single activity that he engaged in would have been 100% legal. Why? Because even though the ladies that work at these brothels in Nevada are transported across state lines, we don't see any federal indictments on any of these companies that are owned by people. But you have to also notice none of them are owned by people that look like Diddy. The Mann Act was literally brought up to stop people that specifically looks like Diddy. The 7% of American population. Black men are 7% of America's population. 100% of the celebrity criminal indictments. If you understand experimental design, you would know that this is what you call skewed left, and anything that's skewed left, it doesn't have a bell curve distribution, means that it's something that's manipulated. It's not naturally occurring. But once again, your boy Diddy was found guilty of only transporting prostitutes across state line. All that trafficking stuff, crap, where this woman is begging to be slutted out, you know what I mean? Yo, that's dead. The RICO is dead. You feel me? They probably still gonna try to, they probably still gonna try to max him out and give him as much time as possible. But we all know what it is. Certain acts are punishable by incarceration if you have a certain look. The hip hop, the mantra of hip hop music was not sex, drugs, and hip hop. It was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So when you start bringing AC/DC and Bruce Springsteen and all these folks, when you start bringing the people that created sex, drugs, and music, you start bringing them up on these charges, I say, okay, maybe it's a fair deal. But when you look at the reality of this selective brand of prosecution, Kobe Bryant, a hero, he was brought up on SA charges, right? Mike Tyson, he was brought up on SA charges. Tupac Shakur in his prime, he was brought up on SA charges. Man, they even got Smokey Robinson, you know what I mean? They even got Shannon Sharp, like all these names that I'm naming, they all have one thing in common. Every last one of them look like Diddy. Every single last one of them. So if anyone can explain to me in the comment section how it is that 7% of the population represents 100% of the celebrity indictments, then I'll take your word at it that his hue had nothing to do with this selective case of prosecution, when once again you have entire industries, not companies, industries built on this exact business model. Okay, Diddy faces a maximum of 10 years. He was looking at life, so we have to consider this to be a victory. And I'm gonna make the prediction right now. I can guarantee you, within the next 20 years, look, they just tried Jay-Z. Within the next 20 years, you're gonna hear an A-list name like a LeBron or somebody that the youth really look up to. You're gonna see one of them being brought up on one of these charges. You know what I mean? And it's a reason why they use these charges in particular. Whenever women made allegations of SA, it was one of the hardest charges to prove, right? You could prove that there was intercourse, but the hardest thing to prove that it was non-consensual. So the powers that be figured out, if it's one of the hardest charges to prove, it's also going to be one of the hardest charges to disprove. You can prove there was intercourse, but how do you prove that it was consensual? You know what I'm saying? And that's why this is the weapon that the new COINTELPRO has used to take down every single role model that the kids of the inner city have to look forward to. You bought it on Kobe Bryant, bruh. You know what I'm saying? You hit Kobe Bryant with them charges, bruh. You know what I'm saying? You hit Tupac Shakur. You hit Bill Cosby. You look, man. I could list them. Mystical. I can go on and on and on. But once again, who's missing? You don't see Tommy Lee on that list. You don't see Kid Rock on that list. You don't see the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You don't see them brought up on a sex charge or drug charge or anything else. All the rocking and the rolling they did. But y'all let me know what y'all think, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think, man. You know what I mean? Is this a day to be celebrated? Nah. If we want to say Diddy's a monster for putting his hands on that young lady, yeah, that's definite. That's without a doubt. But that's not the charges he was brought up on, right? He was brought up on the charges that everybody else that looks like him, that gets a little too big for their britches, that's the charges they get brought up on. The one that's the hardest to disprove. But hats off to Diddy and his family. Hopefully he'll be home soon, you know what I mean? And I can guarantee there'll be another one.